Awesome. So I am Paul. I run the Joburg chapter with Ryan, as well as involved in head office with Civitas. Outbound, I don't know, probably my skill level is probably a 5. In the early days, we got our first 100 customers doing outbound, and then since then we just do referrals in LinkedIn, and are just about to start doing outbound again, working on sort of getting that campaign working. Jason, do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. Hi, Paul. Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Bernick. I own a life leadership and executive coaching business called Success Coaching. I'm probably sitting at about a 6.5 out of 10. Once I'm in front of potential clients, be they private or business, I'm very good. My challenge is getting out there, getting in front of people. And I'm alone. I don't have a sales team. It's all me.
Super. Thanks, Jason. Pam?
Hi, Paul. Me.
Yes, yeah, just a quick intro and what's your
Okay.
experience with
My
outbound?
name is Pamela van Jaarsveld. My company is called Multi-Trade Distributors. We sell carbide cutting tools to the engineering and manufacturing industries. Outbound, so we do have a fully fledged sales team in the 4 major regions in South Africa, around, I think, 12 people. But personally, no, you won't find me out and about much. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. Do you want to give yourself a rating, or you're not into that?
3.
3. Okay, cool. Super. Claudia?
Hi everyone, Claudia here from MyBenta. I'm one of the founders of this business. We are an employee benefits platform that enables SMEs to easily launch benefits to their teams. My outbound skill level personally, probably a 5. Very similar with Jason, good in the sense of, once you have someone in the room, it's easy to kind of convince, but yeah, really generating meaningful and qualified leads and automating that while still feeling it's not an automated process for the receiving party, I think is extremely challenging. That's
Super.
it.
Thanks, Claudia. Dylan?
Hi guys. I'm Dylan from About Workwear. It's a family business that sells PPE and corporate clothing, and has its own branding capabilities. In terms of outbound, I'm not the guy for the outbound. That was always my dad. But once I'm in front of people, it's a lot easier. But to get in front of them is the challenge. So I'd also be around about a 5 on outbound.
Cool. Awesome. Jonathan? Well?
Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan, founder of Rice's Software. We support and develop Chronodesk, which is a SaaS platform that incorporates projects, timesheets, billing, PMO, project portfolio management, service desk, and CRM. And outbound skill level is a 3, very similar to everyone else saying there. Once I get in front of the person, it's fine, but yeah, reaching out
Cool.
and finding out, yeah, is a challenge.
Great. Thanks. Anton?
Hi everyone, my name is Anton from Anchor Accounting, accounting and advisory service. Outbound skill level, I would say 2 or 3. We get most of our business through referrals, so looking to upskill.
Great. Thanks. Bianca?
Hi everyone, Bianca from Inspire, owner, founder. We specialize in paid media, so that would be your Google, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook ads, Instagram, as well as SEO. Mine would be a 1. That's why I'm here.
Great.
I don't have a sales team. I'm all alone,
Great.
so yeah, here to learn. Thank you.
Thanks. Paul from Van Voolen.
Thanks. My name is Paul from Solid Projects. I've also got another thing called Hey Paul, where we do a bit of RevOps consulting. But under Solid Project, we're all about helping clients to generate quality leads and help them succeed online. And obviously convert those leads, the normal stuff where you want to utilize multiple tools, a lot of A/B testing to see what the data says. So highly optimized conversion tools, especially for mobile devices. In terms of outbound sales, I've got a lot of success when I can find the time to focus on it. So I'd say maybe around a 7, maybe a bit higher if I can focus on it, but busy with a new campaign now, so hopefully a bit higher soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Anna?
Hi everyone, this is Ana Maria. I have a company called Ro with chocolate. It's a very small company. I'm the owner and founder. I do sales through virtual assistant, actually, who I hired to make calls on my behalf, and through 2 sets of agents, one in Cape Town, one in Joburg. I think my skill level is actually quite low. It's around 3. Because I'm very good at marketing, but not as good as at the sales part of marketing.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna. Claire?
Hi guys, I'm Claire. I'm the sales manager at House Hoppers. So House Hoppers is a white glove moving service where we pack, move and unpack a client in a day. I was fortunate in the sense that I started the Cape Town branch where we had 0 market and I had to grow it. So I learned how to do outbound purely by guessing. But I have been quite blessed in the sense that we now get all our leads in, but we need to get back into a space where we do outbound and focus on it and get better quality leads to get out there. So that's why I'm here. And my level's probably about a 6.
Thanks, Claire. Ricardo?
Sorry, I wasn't expecting you to say my name there. Ricardo, 2 main businesses that I'm kind of bringing in this context. The one is an accounting practice, I think similar to Ruan, who I see on the call, and Anton. Over there, I would say the skills level is something like 0, to be completely honest. We try to do a bit of activity online, but it's more hope and prayers. And then software tool, a SaaS, Paul, I've chatted to you briefly about that we've built. I think there it's been a bit more comfortable for me to try outbound and do outbound because, there's a specific product we're trying to push. So I would give myself a score level there of like 4, very manual. So yeah, interested in how to automate that and build up lead gen pre the outbound process. Yeah.
Awesome. Brett?
Hi everyone, I'm Brett from Metavolve, and we work with founders and business owners to step out of their business and get clear on how they're going to scale their business. I would rate my outbound at about a 5 or 6.
Great, thanks, Brett. Ruan?
Ruan from Account and Account. We're an outsourced accounting and advisory firm. And I think Ricardo lied, giving himself a 4. He's more about an 8 because he sold us. So he did sell quite well. Our outbound is now currently running through an outsourced firm. They do all our LinkedIn, and through that, I've really learned a lot, and it has worked for us. Not as well as I thought or as fast as it did, but yes, it's currently working. So therefore, I think I learned a lot on the outbound side, but not doing it necessarily by myself every day and the time and effort. But I think I would give myself about a 5 or 6.
Super. Thanks, Ruan. Cool. David?
Hi guys, David from Ventura Engineering. There's a bunch of guys in the call here that you could just jump off to this call and just get some serious leads on how to do outbound. Run an engineering firm, Ventura Engineering. We're based in Pretoria. It's quite niche. We've got a Outbound team of about 3 salespeople. Being a legacy business, there's currently a lot of just like farming and working on leads that are kind of coming our way. But in trying to grow this business, we really need to get to a place where we can actually start, pushing outbound sales through different sales funnels and then have a bit of tactics and strategy behind that. Also looking forward to get some tips on how we can maybe processize this and make it a bit more of a system than just kind of like having ad hoc outbound campaigns every now and again. So probably give ourselves about a 5 in outbound, and keen to learn a lot more.
Thanks, David. George?
Everyone, I'm George from TechBot, and we are a web development and digital marketing agency. And I would give myself probably a 3 or a 4.
Cool. Thanks, George. Andre?
Yeah, Andre Bresner from Benchmark. We do M&A, we sell businesses. My team's pretty effective at outbound, although the landscape has changed tremendously. In 2023, we were able to generate over 1,000 meetings with business owners in that year. With all the changes with AI and email marketing, that's down to about 600. So as opposed to 50% of those meetings coming from outbound digital marketing type stuff, we're now down to sort of 20% comes from that. And I've got a team of 5 people, and that's all they do. But the AI and the email spam stuff has really gotten to the degree it's exceptionally difficult to do. So I've got a team of 5 callers, and we do outbound the old school way at the moment. Just pick up a phone and get all the people.
Cool, Andre. I'm going to put you down for an experience if that's cool. Cool. Kate?
Hi everyone, I'm Kate from Connect Creative. We specialize in doing brand activations and events in the corporate space. From an outbound point of view, I'd like to believe that I'm not great at it, but I think I am maybe good at it. And then we also help clients kind of connect with their current clients and new clients by putting together customer days and stuff like that, where they actually have more intimate connections with their customers. That obviously helps them with their leads and closing the deals. So yeah, I think I'd give myself a 5.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. Cool. Mark?
Howdy everyone, I'm Mark Morris. I run a tech R&D business and a venture studio. Some of those investments that we've made in the venture studio are actually in semi-outbound companies like marketing automation and AI marketing businesses. So I guess I'm exposed to it a lot, and I've done a lot of the functional part of outbound and the strategy and design. But we've got a team of experts in the ventures and in some of our clients. So I kind of get exposed to them regularly. And so I find it very difficult to rate myself because it's just a constant learning journey and constant change. So, what you give yourself a score today and tomorrow it's out of date. So I think I'm kind of middle of the road capable is the safe choice.
Cool, Mark, I'll put you down for an experience here. I've rated you. Shantae?
Hi everyone, I'm Shantae from Wise Move, and yeah, I think it's a very interesting, question as well for us because outbound has so many different aspects to it. So we've been able to automate a lot of it, and you can't really force someone to move. So Wise Move is a moving platform. We help people move, so it's been an interesting journey to kind of help people, but and also kind of lead them through the funnel, and we've used a lot of different methods to do that. And we're currently, so we've 2 clients. We have the actual user of the platform. We've also got our carriers who are our actual clients, so reaching them and the ways that we do that. And then also, we're now exploring call support. So we don't call it sales, because it's actually just supporting someone through that process and then getting them to the process where they can actually make a booking. So yeah, a lot that we've done, a lot of successes, but also still a lot to learn. And yeah, I think I'd probably give myself a 5 or a 6.
Super. Awesome. So everyone there, I've put your scores. I thought what we could do is start off with Paul van Bullion from Solid Projects. I've worked with Mark. I know he's sharp and being humble. So bad luck, Mark, you're number two. And then Andre, I thought it'd be super good to do Andre because I think as email dies, I think phoning is going to become more and more important. So Andre, it'd be great to get an experience here from you. And then we could maybe do Jason, who could fill us in how the financial advisors do this because they spend all of their days basically doing outbound. And then Kate, I thought you could share us about how to use events to basically an outbound in conjunction. And then if we've got a bit of time, Claire, we can pick your brain. So I think that'll be a really good session. So Paul, do you want to start off with just a little bit of experience here around how you do outbound in the marketing world?
So there's, I think, two major approaches we have. The one would be kind of like more of a bulk outreach type of a thing. And long before we had a lot of people utilizing tools like Apollo and stuff, we had written some kinds of web scrapers where we would, for example, go and scrape their website, look at the information on their website, and then customize our value proposition based on their value proposition and kind of have that thing about, hey, we see you, we understand you, and this is who we are. And obviously the whole thing about leading with value, but as I believe one of the guys shared earlier, we saw with tools like Apollo coming out that that's working a lot less effectively. And so that whole thing about, saying, hey, you're all about this, we're all about this, and finding those commonalities, they seem to be working a lot less effectively. And so what we have seen is if you kind of niche it down even further, utilize a lot more casual language, a lot more personalized to them, and not just say, this is who we see you are, but to try and make those personal connections. Even if you're going B2B, we've seen that connecting with a person on the other end is always valuable. So in our experience, it's always B2C and understanding what are their problems. And so it's not just about understanding your ideal customer profile, but understanding that individual buyer persona has become more important than ever. You have all these tools that are really great at identifying, okay, these are the ideal customer profile that meets your criteria, but they're not quite good enough yet at understanding that buyer persona. So that's something that's still working pretty well. The second thing that's worked really well for us is video. Video is such a good thing. I need to create a lot more content, but what I've seen is, from an experience point of view, is just when I send a proposal, when I try to do an interaction, to have a nice video setup that I can quickly do videos and send it to clients. And we've seen a lot of success with that, where we've got clients in cities we've never even been to, guys in the US where there's a bit of a time zone difference. And it helps to build relationships because they can see you, they feel like they know you because they've seen your video. And then obviously from a content creation point of view, where you post it not just for an individual, but you post it more publicly, leveraging those. Often I've seen that people don't even watch my videos, but while I'm busy with an outbound sales conversation, just mentioning that, hey, we've created a whole video series on this topic, a whole mini course on this topic, even if they don't watch it, it kind of establishes them as thinking about us as a thought leader. I think, and that's the main thing, is that people don't like being sold, and outbound sometimes can be a bit too sully, where if you position yourself to say, well, hey, we're going to help you to make an informed buying decision, leveraging video and leveraging that understanding of the buying personas, that those type of things have worked pretty well for us.
Awesome. So I think we maybe just any specific areas. Is anyone on the call would like to deep dive in on how Paul does different aspects? I just thought I'd share a little bit. Cool, John. I was going to do that exact question, so why don't you say it? Go for it.
Yeah, I was just including a link of the video and the email. So when you do outbound email or you're reaching out to somebody, how does that affect the email servers on filtering out spam? If you have a YouTube link with some information.
So I think like a YouTube link, maybe a bit later in the sequence will be better. Then you're not going to get flagged as spam. It depends obviously what the rest of the content's like, if it supports it. But Loom videos or something like that has worked really well. We might just upload a video to our Drive or to our Dropbox. And so that's actually less likely to be spam if you share like a Loom, because most of the time people would use Looms for very instructional, informational type videos, and so it's actually a positive signal from a spam point of view. So if you want to kind of I think reference other videos, rather reference them in your Loom video than what you would necessarily put the links there. That works pretty well.
So Paul, my question was, with Outbound, we had a guy, Owen, who heads up HubSpot Middle East and Africa, and basically he used to manage a sales team, and he basically got them to they would on a morning literally do like 30-second individualized videos to like 100 prospects a day for like an hour, and then they would send those all out. Is that what you're talking about, where it's literally just you're doing like a recording for an hour and then off go the videos? Yeah.
People are lazy to read, and if they see, well, hey, you took the time to make a video. But even if I just join a meeting, like a discovery call, like I had one last night with a bunch of guys, most of them in the States, and every single time the guys are like, you got such a nice video setup. It's quite an easy point of difference, not too expensive. You got like, I don't have the most expensive mic. I think it's like R1,000 microphone, a bit of a light there. Most of the time you can use your phone as a webcam. So just having a nice video setup, a bit of a background, has done wonders for me in terms of differentiating me. Even if I go into meetings, it's kind of like people remember that. But yeah, in terms of recording videos, getting them out quickly, the main thing is just to have a setup that makes it easy to do that. If you need to send it to an editor to edit the videos, that's death by 1,000 cuts, And so you really want a scenario where it's quite easy to pop those videos out. It shouldn't be overcomplicated. It should be something you can get out quite quickly.
Awesome. Brett, you had a question?
You answered it, actually.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Paul, any sort of specific tips around the scripting of those outbound videos? So I know Owen, he had a couple of things, as always have the person's LinkedIn profile website on the Sheen Square, so they know that it's unique.
Exactly.
And then keep it super short. And any sort of tips on how you script those outbound videos?
So absolutely, you want the first frame of the video to show something that they're familiar with, so like their LinkedIn or their website, so that even if they don't watch the video, Loom does a nice thing where it creates like a little GIF of the video, but you don't want to just put the link to the video. You'd like to have a little bit of a thumbnail that makes quite a difference, and that thumbnail should show that uniqueness, that it's customized video to them, and so don't just start the first frame of the video, but then you put the link in the email, the thumbnail should include that points of personalization. And then, you want to keep it very short, rather leave them wanting more. So I call it the 3 C's. You want to, first of all, you want to captivate them. So you want to kind of have something that jars them out of the experience. So just receiving a personalized video for most people is quite a point of difference. I had a scenario where one of my favorite authors, Mike McCollowick's, I went onto his website after I got his book and I signed up for a thing. And 2 days later, I get a horrible cell phone video. He says, "Hey there, Paul from South Africa." And he tries to pronounce my city name, and it was just horrible. But he took 20 seconds to do this video after I kind of, got his book. And I was like, I didn't expect this, So it's doing something unexpected is very powerful. I think if you go through Chip and Dan Heath's book, Made to Stick, that's the one thing that stands out, to do something unexpected. And so to find a way to kind of jar them, because they've got so many things going on around them. You need to kind of, you need to captivate them. You need to almost jar them out of their day to day so that they pay attention, because most likely when they open your email and play your video, there's 5 other things going around. So how can you captivate them? Then you want to connect with them. So you need to demonstrate value or make a personal connection. You need it to be a personalized video. But in today's world, just having that personalization, people are doing it at scale. So to differentiate yourself, you might want to demonstrate an understanding of their specific pain point, not your ICP's pain point, but your buyer persona's pain point. So what is their personal pain point? Their company might have a certain pain point and a certain issue that they want to solve, but that person as an individual, especially in a corporate organization, aren't always aligned with their organization's stuff perfectly. So you want to always address the person first and their pain point, which is to help them feel good about themselves. And then the third C is to have a call to action where they can go out and find out more information. Don't try close. So don't always be closing. It's about starting a conversation. So the call to action should be about conversation. So I call it the 3 C's: captivate, connect, and continue the conversation, basically.
Awesome. Any other questions before we move on from Paul? Paul, I just have one more.
Sure.
I just exactly like, I don't want to be pitch slapping with Civitas where you're like, hey, buy my thing straight off the bat.
Yeah.
How do you think about designing the journey? We've been thinking a lot about kind of like, how do we set up events, or what are sort of the ways you go step 1, step 2, step 3, so they kind of like you work them to a meeting. Like we thinking that the right move is an event, like what Kate's doing, invite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be interested in how you go from continue, like, yeah.
Yeah. It depends which video, if it's in at the awareness stage, what part of the funnel it's at. It's also going to depend on what channel you use. So we normally look at, and then you're also going to depend on generally where they are in terms of the diffusion of innovation. So are they an innovator, an early adopter? So for example, an early majority person, they're not too interested in a money back guarantee. If you use that in your messaging, for example, they don't want to take a risk where, hey, I can get my money back, because their reputation's on the line, because they work at a big corporate. And so they're interested in different kinds of messaging versus an innovator. They don't mind being the first to try a product because they want to try something new. They want to innovate. They want to try something exciting. And so it depends on a few of those variables. And that's why I said buyer persona is so expensive in terms of messaging. Platforms are also important. So if you post a video on TikTok versus Instagram, you can obviously go longer, and people expect sometimes longer videos and more engaging videos on TikTok, where Instagram, the audience, that's not the case. And then also depending on where you're finding them in that. I know Alex Omozi, for example, says that he's seen that everybody that's bought like one of their high-end kind of things has consumed at least one piece of long-form content. There's a really good book called They Ask You Answer. I would highly recommend it. It's probably the best book around content creation. It explains it pretty well, and it's very practical. There's very abstract things like story brand and stuff like that, but it's not always practical. So They Ask You Answer is a very practical book around content creation. But in terms of lead gen, I think a very big thing is just social proof. Often tapping into your existing customer base, asking them for a warm intro could be a great thing. But imagine you said, hey, give me a warm intro. By the way, use this video in your warm intro where you explain straight away, like, okay, I'm going to get intro to Dave, and Dave works at Cooper Connect that does recruiting for Chick-fil-A. I'm going to get intro to him. Let me quickly go and do a bit of a bias persona profile, record a quick 2-minute video just explaining who I am, where I think there'll be synergy, what problems I assume he's experiencing, and how I think we can solve them. A quick video, very, very high level, and say, with this warm intro, please include this video. So you're not sending the video, that referral is sending the video. I think that could be good. And then obviously social proof is a really good thing. So it's better to talk about in your videos about what you've done instead of what you can do.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Paul. Any final questions before we move on? Mark, I think it's over to you. Do you want to just share a little bit about your journey on Outbound? What's working, what's not working? What would you suggest people be looking to explore? You're on mute, Mark.
Cool, thanks for that. Well, can I start off by asking you to never ask me to follow on Paul again in my life, please? Paul, you sound like you really know what you're doing. I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I suppose we've been mostly B2B focused, so and B2B and B2C differ a lot. Like they're worlds apart. But I would say that the biggest little bit of advice that I could give people in a call like this is to make sure that all the elements of your program align. So if you listen to what Paul's been speaking now, I often find that guys will have an outbound program that they don't test the landing page. And then if they test the landing page, they'll lead them to a LinkedIn profile where they haven't groomed it yet. So people you don't check all steps of the process. And that's the biggest lesson for me. Build it, test it on people that are in your close circle before you release it out in the wild, and only then let it go. I would say in terms of this, like, or, you know, in terms of when to sell, my experience is like the mantra for outbound should be, and particularly on LinkedIn, should be never be closing. Always offer to do something for somebody and offer to help them. And I think it helps a lot if you can arrive with a purpose and then tell people right up front what that purpose is. Because there is so much noise and you get filtered out so quickly, that you need a really strong reason for people to engage, and you need to address the fear that you're just another bot or spam artist, like, as soon as possible in the equation, and offer them an out as quickly as possible, because people, the whole purpose, I think, of outbound is to get people to qualify themselves as buyers or not. And frankly, the sooner you disqualify them, the better, you know, because then you're dealing with less people. I think the concept and where we are moving to in terms of the methods now and the tools that we use is that the traditional thing I think is one of the marketing guys who I also admire in the group, in the Cape Town group, is that he's got this theory that whenever you're trying to sell to someone, over 100 people, 95 aren't interested in buying from you. And so how soon can you identify the 5 that are buying and are buying right now and want to buy from you? So I think that's where I'm seeing a massive shift in the world at the moment, where instead of sending the 100, you plant the seeds that will listen for the 5 you're looking for, and you wait for them to tell you that they are ready to buy from you, and only then engage with them. And I think that's nirvana in outbound and in marketing, and we're almost at the cusp of being able to do that, because the tools are becoming powerful enough to do that. And it's a relief, you know, because you always feel like you feel so dirty sending out spam mails to people and spam offers and not knowing whether they want to buy from you or not. Yeah. So I think that we are sitting on the cusp of a total revolution. I don't know what the right word is now, but things are just changing dramatically in terms of what you can do with the tools and how you use them nowadays, and it's super exciting. I don't think I or anybody I know can position themselves as an expert yet in that, because the tools are so new and the approaches are so new. So we're all on a learning journey, I think. And then the last thing I want to say about it is that some of that learning is that the old school approaches actually work better than the new school. And so I'm also finding like I say, a move back to call centers. You know, everybody thought they were dead. Everybody thought everybody's going to lose their job to AI and, but actually the wheels are turning. And I mean, right now, I would rate 2 of the most effective ways of selling call centers and networking groups. And neither of them got anything to do with outbound or AI. You know? So the AI might get them there, but I think so the message to me is like, you know, don't be afraid to blend the old with the new, and maybe use the new as a way of getting back to old school personal relationships. Ultimately, in the close, is probably the most effective use of these tools.
Thanks, Mark. That's awesome. Just to add, there's a chap in the network who builds outbound sales teams for companies, and he's finding his like most effective campaigns have been dropping off like varsity students. So he gets varsity students to work like super low cost, like $5,000, and they work like part-time, and he drops them off at like these office parks. They go door to door, and it's working like a charm because no one's doing that. And then also sort of the outbound phone stuff where you're getting someone reasonably sophisticated, you know, a well-educated varsity student who can be articulate, kind of like the Investec model, but at a super low cost, because you're getting them as part-time work. So they could either be waitering or they could be doing outbound calling for you. And you can often get really well presented people at a low cost. Any questions for Mark? Yeah, any questions for Mark about maybe what tools he's using? How's he figuring out buying intent and those buying signals? Go for it, Paul.
So Mark, I think the thing you mentioned about understanding when is their buying intent there or their buying window, that's a great point. So that's something I've been struggling with a bit, is to figure that out. How do you guys kind of figure out, you know, when someone's in that buying window?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, I'll give you a context that we are building up at the moment now, where as an example, there's a whole lot of I say legislation that's been put onto industries, and some of those industries have absolutely no choice other than to comply. So, and if somebody is searching on those, on, like let's say sustainability, carbon credits as an example, if there's a piece of legislation that somebody's putting in the name of that legislation into a search window and posting it, they for sure are a customer if you have the solution. So it's been, it's been absolutely mind-boggling to me, the capability on some of the things that I'm building now, where you're literally sitting in front of somebody and you say, and you can look them up and then tell them what their buying signals are. And you can, I had a customer in front of me the other day, and I told them, these are the 71 things you are telling the world you're ready to buy.
It's really cool. What system are you guys using?
Apollo. Well, that's one of them. We're using. Yeah, we're also using Go High Level. We've tried out Cray. I'm finding Apollo does better. Apollo's got a higher what's the enrichment rate than Cray even, I think, right now. So I was quite impressed with that. We tool agnostic, and I've got about 3 or 4 teams, so they use 3 or 4 different things, and they each swear by their tool. So, but I personally like Apollo.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I was enjoying Apollo, but I must definitely do a bit of a deeper dive there.
So Paul, we're trying to solve for the same thing, and kind of the approach we're taking, we haven't obviously solved, but we're working on it, is you walk back from the buyer journey. So to just take, like say Claire's example from House Hoppers, you could literally go, what happens before someone moves from Joburg to Cape Town? And you would literally go, okay, well, they have to sell their house. They have to basically quit their job. They have to. So basically what you could do is now with Clay and Apollo is you can actually ask for some of those signals, and you just have to, it's not all of them, but you can search around for, is there anything that correlates?
Yeah.
Like for us, someone raises funding, and that they have that data. So every time someone gets a funding round, you can get notified and then approach them and say, oh, I saw you've just raised a funding round. If you're interested in connecting with other founders who've just done this, or helping with hiring all the new people from the funding round, we can help with that type thing.
Wow, that's powerful. So not always looking for the current buying intent, but the preceding buying intent. That's powerful like that. Thank you.
Well, some of the things I want to just tell you an interesting story that you don't also just have to listen to search, but I did an exercise the other day where we're looking for housewives and moms, and people literally, I was amazed to find you could do that. You can target moms in this new world. It's mind-boggling. So that's more profiling than searching, I think. So it's the people are self-identifying online as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. So we'll move it on to, I think, Jason. Do you want to give us a little best practice on how the financial advisors are doing outbound these days?
Yeah, no problem. Just listening to everyone else, what I'm reminded of through my own experiences, especially in the last year, and those of others through the Civitas network as well, is that in person is an old school approach, still trumps most other things. No matter how you get there, you could have a digital strategy, but to clinch a deal, especially the bigger deals, in person still seems to be the thing that has the most impetus. So the financial advisors, with this insane prospecting program that we put together a few years ago, we came up with 101 strategies over 15 different categories, and then added another 70 or 71 to them. So there are a lot of strategies, but as with everything, some hold strong and some kind of wither away. So one, generally speaking, that held incredibly strong was the one-to-many strategy. So you can have 100 meetings with 100 prospects, or you can have one meeting with 100 prospects, and then pick off the second meetings after that. So you can do that nowadays a lot easier with, for example, setting up a webinar. We used to do this by putting 100 people in a room and inviting them through various means and ways. But it's a lot easier to set up a webinar, invite people, and then you can overlay that with the second strategy, which is community. So there are many communities, and you just got to look around you and understand that you are already in communities. If you've got kids, you've got the school community. If you live in a neighborhood, you've got the neighborhood community. If you've got a hobby like mountain biking, you've got a mountain biking community. And what people don't like is selling into their community. But you don't have to sell, you can mention. You can say to your friends, hey, I'm doing this webinar next week. You know what I do? You might be interested because of the topic. And you just send them a link and you leave it at that. And I can't help but reflect on Tony Robbins. There was a story about the first seminar he ever did. He had 6 or 7 attendees and all of them were family. So, you know, we all start somewhere with the strategy. So if you get very few people, don't worry about it. Just keep going and going and going and build the rhythm. The thing with community as well, I just want to mention is that you might not want to sell into it, and it can be awkward because it's often in person. But the way that it ultimately succeeds is that you'll inevitably end up in a conversation with someone where they ask you what you do. And if they don't ask you, ask them and they'll ask you back. So it's just, all of this is about getting in front of people. Other things that are working for financial advisors, as they do with many other professions, is the strategy of building credibility. So for advisors particularly, it's through LinkedIn and it's through public relations. And credibility means that when they are looked for or searched online, they pop up somewhere. So they may have done the work, but people will Google them to see if they are credible. So that's really a reinforcing strategy. And then the last one that comes to mind right now is the power of storytelling. Wherever you are, you could be at a dinner with friends and family, you could be at a work thing, you could be with clients, you could be anywhere. But again, it's a soft kind of sell where so many of the conversations start with, I was speaking to this client the other day, and you just tell a success story. And it may not resonate with a person or a group of people, but if your story correlates with their need, it might just work from a prospecting point of view.
Awesome, Jason. That was epic. Any questions for Jason? Anything you want to dig deeper in on the one-to-many, the storytelling, accessing communities in a non-salesy way?
I happen to have this on my desk. I was talking to someone about it the other day. I don't think this is the better one, but I can't remember what the other one's called. But you can't just read the book. You got to tell the stories.
Cool. Well, Jay, it'd be super cool if you remember the better one and just drop it on the Civitas Sales Meetup group. That'd be super cool. Super. So we have time maybe for one more before we wrap up. So, Kate, the floor is yours. Tell us how to do events to get all of our prospects to events and how to sell them.
Cool. So it's actually quite funny. I do this for my clients all the time, but I don't do it for me. So you know what, I'm going to say from an inbound point of view, it can obviously be easier because you have the database, you've got that connection with your client already, you know, inviting them to a conference or something more intimate, that's kind of cool. But how do you then access those greater people? You know, obviously doing email campaigns and that kind of thing, by inviting those people to something that is maybe interesting to them. Like, for example, you're getting, we're going to be talking about AI in the communication space. That might benefit me in my business that I want to attend. So, you know, you then getting a bunch of random people into a group that are related to that industry. They obviously coming for this workshop or this talk, but then from there it turns into this networking experience that you then have the opportunity to talk to these people about what they do, about what you do, how you can obviously solve those problems. And then from there, obviously, you now have that relationship with them that isn't just a cold email, it's more that personal connection with them. From there, I would then say, you know, give them a phone call the next day, pop them an email. Thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, we had a conversation about X, Y, and Z. Let's meet for a coffee and chat about it a little bit further. And then from an invitation point of view, you know, how do you get those people there? Anything personal is better, but obviously, like I said, send out a bulk email to your database and say, we're hosting this event. We'd love to have you there. And then those key clients that you actually really want there, give them a phone call and be like, hey, we've got this event coming up. I'd love you to be there. And it's actually crazy to see the number of people that show up. And yeah, so that's the value I can add, I think.
Awesome, Kate. That's super cool. As a matter of interest, what sort of price are you looking for? What sort of size events do you do? And just a 30-second story on the most successful event you've run for a client.
So just from an event can be any size. I mean, at the moment we're working on a really small event of 5 people where it's a group of ladies, and we're actually putting together an experience for them where they're making their own lipstick. So they sit together with their clients or with their customers, and they make their own lipstick, and then from there they're obviously networking. Something like that can cost as little as 5,000 Rand. And then from there, we can go bigger, where we've done supercar days, which can cost anything from 150,000 Rand to 300,000 Rand. And what's absolutely amazing is seeing the return that these kinds of events actually get for the customer, where they've been trying to close this deal for ages. And you know what, within a month after that event, they actually closed that deal. And then, yeah, I mean, from a greater event point of view, we also deal in the festival space. So that comes down to sponsorships. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that for an outbound lead.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thanks everyone. Feel free to carry on the conversation on the Meetup WhatsApp group if you have any questions that weren't answered. What we are looking at doing, we haven't actioned it yet, but actually making this basically like a very regular thing, where what we'll do is introduce some fundamentals and basically make it that you can meet on a regular basis with other people to solve outbound. Once you've mastered outbound, it'll be moved to another WhatsApp group and do that. So thanks everyone for your time. Any feedback on how we can do this, any change in format, please let us know. I hope you learned a ton, and yeah, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything that you didn't feel was answered from the session today. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank